Hi, how we doing? Rarely do I make reaction videos of how would I call Solari, leftists, progressives. What other labels can I throw on him? Wokie. Yeah, those type of individuals, left wing. Because I don't know, like the videos I used to watch when I was young was like wrecked feminist. Well, young when I was in college was like wrecked feminist videos and like bearing and like Sargon of Akkad, like just entertainment undoomed of their PNG tubers at the time talking about social issues, and a lot of them were right wing. And I mean, it kind of crafted one side of the argument, and I mean, they were entertaining. Yeah, they would show like the crazies, but on the internet. But that was just how the internet worked. And I, I mean, I try not to do that, but I mean, I think he makes some interesting arguments, or I think he will. I hope he does. Addicted to outrage. Why do we love to be angry? I mean, based off the title alone, I mean, I'm without even looking at the video. I mean, it takes emotion to be angry, and some people, want to feel an emotion about a thing. It's like what comes to mind is heels versus babyface screaming about pronouns, and I'll say it is cringe, but he's also 100% right. Like we know this is something that has happened because this is something that they told us was happening. By they I mean the consultants. You know, AAA multi-billion-dollar companies are like, no, we will impose these ulterior standards, even if the consumer disagrees. Against the consumer in some situations, and we will treat the consumer like, that this is how what you need to consume. You need to give us your money for this, and if you don't, oh, you're a very very bad person. Like we have the knowledge of foresight. We know things like this was happening, and Hills versus Babyface. Okay, yeah, he's not an intellectual. He did get mad, like you did see the steam coming off his bald ass head, but okay, his arguments were valid. And 600,000 people watched specifically to see Bald Man get angry. And a lot of people think, you know, have his same opinion. Like they're wondering why products nowadays, like why video games nowadays are just inferior products to games that you played when you grew up. But no one wants to really have this argument because there's people that attack you from the ideological perspective because the ideology is absolutely used to defend bad fucking products. Like people attack you, just for daring to be out had to care about something because the internet's the internet. Like people attack you for liking, just even liking video games. I mean, an attack is harsh, but I feel like he's going to use this type of language in his videos. But, okay, this is just based off not even watching the video. Let's give it a watch.
Guess who's having to use a cold pack for a bit because I had a bit of an accident with the camera equipment. That'd be me. My poor fingy.
Got him.
You know what I like? Learning stuff. Like recently I learned that dogs have wet noses because it helps keep them cool. You know what I don't do often enough? Learn new things. If you're anything like me, and I know I am, sadly, then you might have a hard time learning things on your own. I used to draw a lot when I was younger, and after wanting to get back into it recently, I looked up some tutorials online, but turns out the internet isn't a very well organized place, and if there's one thing that I need when learning something, it's structure. Thankfully, there's something to help with that. Skillshare, who's sponsoring this video.
Yeah, okay, this is a sponsor. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've been on YouTube for a while now as a video creator and even longer as a viewer. I go through phases when it comes to the kind of content I watch. Sometimes it's video essays, others it's reviews and retrospectives of movies and games, and when I just want some background noise while I'm working or playing, I'll put on some podcast style content. One of my favorites being the Best of the Worst series by Red Letter Media. YouTube.
Yeah, they're hilarious. But yeah, so you been on YouTube back then where people could be edgy, you could watch beheading videos. Two Girls in One Cup was like the wild, wild west of YouTube. If you've been there as long as I have, right? And I think you have, like, you've been here when the internet was a very, very scary place, and you didn't put your full name, you didn't use your face, you didn't, put your phone number, you didn't meet people online. So, what's happening now is people, for some reason, think the internet is safe. Like, I'm going back to the whole Pornhub thing where you have to use your government fucking ID to watch porn. I'm like, one, you're demanding Pornhub holds that information. Two, you know how many companies get hacked? Like, that is grounds for immediate blackmail, right? And three, all these for the kid legislations, rarely do they actually achieve that purpose. Like, they're there for people to moralize, to impose their morality, on other just complete strangers to make them feel good. But they don't achieve what they're meant to. Again, if you want to watch porn, just use a VPN or go to, I don't know, X videos. It's also free. So, yeah, you've been on the YouTube, you've been on the internet for a long time. So you know why people get outraged on the internet.
Has a huge variety of content. It's what makes it appealing, since there's seemingly something for everyone. One moment you could be watching a highly produced short film, the next you could be watching a video where a 14-year-old British kid is teaching you how to fix a problem with Windows 11. Regardless of the genre of content that you see on YouTube, it's become abundantly clear that one of the most successful strategies for gaining views and an audience on the platform is to create videos that generate drama and possibly anger their viewers.
No. I mean, again, people have opinions. Like, there's this odd mindset that assumes people are just ants, like, roaming around ideologically when they see someone being like, be mad at this, go over here. People will just mindlessly walk towards there like zombies. No, people have opinions. They have worldviews that's been curated through experience and through interaction and, being a human being. And most people just watch the things that jive, that vibe with them. They don't really want their opinions to be counteracted. Like, they have views and they look for people to, I don't know, maybe even articulate, because normal everyday people, they're not scholars, they're not terminally online, they just see a thing and wonder why that thing is, and they'll have their own opinions, and then they'll go to YouTube and, I don't know, watch people like Asmongold, that just another basic ass bitch, and I mean that in a good way, that articulates the opinions and the mindset that they have. I mean, this is why people watch YouTube. for the most part. Like people watch heels, like I said, my previous example, people watch heel versus babyface to watch angry bald man yelling at the camera.
That anger can then be leveraged into creating a conversation among viewers, who in turn develop some sense of community centered on the subject and compels them to explore related content with a similar tone.
I mean, you can build community through different means. I mean, you have PewDiePie, who built community around, I don't know, I'm just playing scary games. I mean, I watch like Wendigoon and Papa Meat and Moist Critical, different types of communities, but that, again, these are just people that browse the internet, jive with the creator, and I'm not even talking parasocially, right? I mean, I'm not even talking about VTubers or, like Amaranth and the Tub. Like, these are just dudes that, like, ain't Jeff Holiday. Like, these are dudes that just cultivate an audience of people that want to interact and will even pay. Like they'll super chat you. Like if they like the content, and I could even say even the previous people I watched, like Sargon, like they have a community of people that will donate and will support the content they make. Just to people, it's like tipping the content creator. It's like I hate. It's technically that, but when you say it, it's just tipping.
It also makes it easier for a creator to continually maintain engagement, where instead of visiting new subjects, they can continue talking about the same thing, since it's something that an audience wants to know about. One thing that I've noticed, though, when it comes to drama, is that it seems people get some perverse thrill from watching it unfold. They rally around it to be a part of something, to theorize what's happening behind the scenes and explore the psychology of it. We've always had this interest, though. I mean, it's why reality TV is so successful, even if most things in it are carefully choreographed by producers and editors. Let's look at the Borderlands movie.
Yeah, and everything became reality TV eventually, and it just got stale. Like, uh, again, I'm gonna keep saying things that show my age. Like MTV used to just mean music TV. Like when I was in middle school, when I wake up in the morning, I'd just watch music videos from MTV and just sit there and listen to them on the big old. We had Direct TV back when I don't know how much it cost. I just watched them for like an hour or so before going to school. I mean, but again, you know, the internet skews reality in such a odd way that I just don't take everything I see on the internet really that seriously anymore, because most things are there to serve a purpose for a reason, and a lot of people, the way they interact with other people online is not the way you'd interact with people in real life. Like you can know the difference between how a person will act with another human being they disagree with in real life. Because what was this TV show a friend talked to me about? It's about how you had Ben Shapiro in the middle and all these people with different opposing opinions. It was like 2 minute debate or something, 5 minute debate, where Ben Shapiro will make a statement and people will run up to the chair and try to debate him, and then people can hold up a red like thing to see if they want to switch out that person and for someone new or not. Like then you can like these people like they have many worldviews that you see online. Like the same people that Bering would pwn, that wrecked feminist videos would pwn. Like these people had those same opinions, but they were being respectful, and clearly it was his TV channel, so obviously they weren't just gonna knock him in the fucking mouth. But you just know this is how people act. Like, I can't explain it. I guess, like, how I'm talking to you is, I mean, I'm technically talking to a screen in front of me with my dog asleep in front of me, but yeah, I mean, let's look at the Borderlands movie. Oh, God, like, here we go.
As an example, based on a video game series, it was released in theaters very recently, and after its terrible performance at the box office, it was
Yeah.
promptly made available through streaming services. The
Wow.
movie was directed by Eli Roth, who was an odd choice since he's known largely for making gory horror movies, and has big names like Oscar winners Cate Blanchett, Jamie Lee Curtis, and comedians Kevin Hart and Jack Black. In the run-up to the movie's release, audiences were already skeptical of its quality and casting decisions.
Yeah, they made an IP that was a game that was violent, had crude humor, and they made it PG-13 with a director who again is known for making horror movies. They tried making a violent, crude humor game for for families, for like children effectively. That's a bad decision. Again, I mean, a horror Borderlands would have been an interesting idea, and they didn't have to really even add the main characters. Like maybe brief. Like, I mean, I'm not going to talk about how they could have made that shit better. It was a bad movie. It was made with bad intentions. It was guaranteed to be a flop. You can look anywhere about the movie. It's just stupid, low-brow humor that Cartoon Network in the 2010s did better child humor and humor for both children and adults to understand. It was just a bad choice and a bad product.
It had a troubled production cycle, which is often a bad sign for any movie, and in an age where movies based on video games are going through sort of a redemption arc, it reminded people of darker days where practically every adaptation was poorly received, largely because these movies were made by people who simply weren't familiar with the source material. The initial
Yeah, and again, they're made like, I think there's this one thing like German director where if you made German movies, like the German government would give you effectively free money through government grants because it was considered spreading German culture. No, and he gamified it, and he just made sloppy knockoffs of existing movies. And he effectively gamed the system, made a lot of money off effectively bad products from the government. He didn't care if they sold because he's getting paid either way.
negative reception was all that was needed for people to decide that this movie will and should be a failure, that the film's fate was sealed before the first trailer was released. To be fair, it did look pretty bad. Not as bad as the Minecraft trailer, though.
Oh my god.
I am Steve.
Yeah, and also the problem is like Jack Black, The Rock, and Kevin Hart are being shown in every single fucking Western movie. It's like the 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 four horsemen of mediocrity. Like who else would I add there? What's another actor who's in almost every single fucking movie? Oprah Winfrey, I suppose. But yeah, and this is just mass producing because they're making games and IPs that existed in the past. They're like, oh well, we can still milk these, right? People will watch it. And is the Minecraft movie even out? I think it will sell, just out of curiosity. But well, Borderlands movie again. It was made by people who didn't understand the IP, didn't care for the IP, didn't care for the audience that it should have been marketed towards, and it flopped. But you even shown like Mario and Sonic, those are pretty damn good movies, and we know it's good because it sold, and the reception was amazing. I mean, the first Sonic movie literally got fucking bullied because of the odd fucking teeth the human teeth, and people are like, what the fuck? But then they changed it, and to their credit, they did change it. People are like, all right, we'll watch it. Just off that base alone of not treating your consumer like they're the enemy. People gave it a chance, watched it, and it was well received.
I'm not even a fan of Minecraft, and I can tell that's not good.
Bruh, don't talk shit about not Minecraft now. Like I'm trying not to be nice. Don't be shitting on Minecraft.
In the lead up to the film's release, people basically sat and waited for their expectations to be fulfilled. They'd have discussions on Reddit about why it's going to fail, what they could have done to make it better, and shared memes about why the movie they haven't seen yet is bad. The reviews.
Yeah, I mean, it's a product. People do this all the fucking time with movies. I mean, you trying to say that's a bad thing? Are you trying to do you shouldn't judge a movie before a game before you played it? It's like, no, that's not how it works. Right? It's not you buy product, the product ends up being garbage. Then it's like, oh, well, it's shit. And when I'm down, well, it's like, would be like $15, or it's down. If it's a game, $60 fucking dollars. It's like, it doesn't work that way, brother.
Came out and it was universally panned for all the reasons audiences said. Bad script, bad casting, bad direction, just bad. It's a bad movie. Shortly after the movie release, there came a deluge of YouTube videos from creators talking about how they can confirm it is indeed a bad movie. And although these creators probably don't call themselves professional critics, people treat them as such. One of the major problems with critique on YouTube, and I use that word very loosely, is that it's heavily based on finding the flaws in products, whether that's movies.
I mean, that's the point, right? Of critique. Sorry, I don't mean to pause every minute, but I mean, that's the point of critiquing something, or at least a product, and like art. I mean, yeah, I mean, you're gonna try to look for the flaws and all that. Okay.
Games or whatever, really. Audiences seem to have a desire to hear what's bad about something before anything else, and even if something is considered good, people often go out of their way to maintain focus on negatives. Another example being the game Concord, released recently and shut down within 11 days of its launch. It was a pretty solid game, not perfect, but because it was a multiplayer only game that released for $40 in an overcrowded genre, it ended up being one of the worst failures in gaming history.
So I paused because my alarm was like, oh, bullshit. But no, it's not a crowded, like hero shooters is not a crowded genre. Like, again, Deadlock Protocol and now Marvel Rivals has proved that you could do that. Like, Overwatch created the foundation, and what Concord did was they took the foundation, like they took the form, but none of the substance. And let's be honest, what sold Overwatch were their hot female characters. Like, peak Overwatch is your friend walking in your room and being like, wait a minute, that's a video game? And you being like, get your goofy ass out my goddamn room. Like, that actually happened. He's like, wait, hold on, that's a fucking video game? I beg your pardon? Yeah, I mean, like, let's not pretend, like, play make-believe and not have the adult conversation. Like, Concord was made with, maybe not even ill intention, but design-wise, bad intentions. It's like, we're going to make a hero shooter like Overwatch, actively strip away the appeal Overwatch had, attack the fans and attack the consumer. And I mean, a lot of people say it's like $200 million, $400 million flop. To me, it really doesn't matter. It's a very costly flop for Sony, you know, who nowadays is just the monopoly in gaming. And then, you know, because they're releasing a $700 fucking PlayStation, right? That doesn't even have a disk drive, and like there's not even that many. Like, there's no reason to get a PlayStation because there's not really that many exclusives coming out. Almost every somewhat maybe PlayStation exclusive, because it's not being released on Xbox, just ends up on Steam anyway, right? So, like, yeah, people are looking at all these things. Like, all these things are culminating to Concord just being a bad product. And we're not even talking about the fact that no one fucking played it. We're not even talking about the fact that, again, they went after the consumers and a disproportionate amount of people defended the game than actually played the fucking game. And this is the mindset I have. Assume only 5% of the people who play your game are going to go online and if they see criticism, defend it. Because some people will see the criticism and just breeze past it. Some people won't even try to look for criticism. They'll just play the game. But if people defend your product, it means they are fans. They enjoy the product. They enjoy the art. They enjoy what you're bringing to the gaming space. And a disproportionate amount of people that defended Concord played the fucking game. Like, and that's like, people defended the game that didn't fucking play it.
It had only a peak player count of under 700 players after launch,
Yeah.
which, for a game that relies on having other people to play with, is abysmal. It was also an expensive game to produce as well, with estimates being anywhere from about 100 million to 150 million, so not chump change. Once again though, people expected this game to fail from the get-go, and as the idea grew amongst gamers with people saying that it was doomed, people were less inclined to go anywhere near it. This attitude isn't the sole reason Concord failed, but I imagine it contributed to it heavily.
I mean, yeah, people hear a bad product, therefore people don't buy bad product. I mean, this is, again, I know, duh. Like, this is something you say, and people think they're getting the intellectual high ground. It's like, no shit, man. Like, if people think a product's gonna be bad, just even based off the trailer, because again, your trailer is your best foot forward, and if it's a shitty step, people are going to shit on it. Like, that's not surprising, especially nowadays when things are expensive and we've entered this landscape where the consumer is being attacked for not buying the product. It's like, yeah. And you're going to have people that are vindictive about it. I mean, this is just the football field we're in. That's why I promote games I like along with trashing games I don't. Because, I mean, I don't want to just fully have negatives to say, right? But the fact of the matter is, gotcha games that are literal Coomer Schlop, and this is what I was told, Zaneless Zone Zero's Coomer Schlop. And I'm like, yeah, that's some S tier pig shit, though. Like, games like that are printing money, while it seems Concord, 150, $200 million, it's a money pit. And for what? A game that barely even 700 people played.
And as I was making this video, new information came out that suggested that the game might have actually cost upwards of $400 million to produce. I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but
Yeah, I think the one source was from that told some guy on his podcast and no one else. And even I said this was possible. I 100% believe it was possible because, developers sign things called NDAs, so they're not really supposed to say anything about the product, otherwise they can be held legally liable. And it's like, if you try to tell companies like IGN and like their constituents is the multi-billion-dollar AAA companies. So at best, they'll pretend you're not there. At worst, they'll rat you the fuck out. So I again, there's just so much. It's like a fog of war of information happening between AAA companies and the consumers because the AAA Western companies, in the case of Velgar, just seems to want to withhold information, withhold, things in the game that are anti-gamer, anti-consumer until they get your money, and then they it's like, oh, you activated our trap card, gender identity. It's like people don't like being having their intelligence insulted, even if they have very little intelligence, and two, people don't like being tricked or lied to. And it's like, oh, companies lie to their consumers. It's like, yeah, no shit. That doesn't mean we have to want that or like it. And at the end of the day, people want to assist like a situation where you had like we had in the early 2000 or early 2000s, where you just had bangers coming out every week, but because I was a snot-nosed ass child, I couldn't buy all the bangers. Like, people want to go back to those times, not times like these where the majority of AAA games are just mid garbage. Every once in a while, you'll get a banger. Every once in a while you'll get a Helldivers 2 or a Black Myth Wukong, which isn't even from the West, right? Or like a good indie game, but for the most part, they're just money pits and mass-produced products made by assembly line. Like, we don't want this system. We want companies to actually give you the respect and to have people's faith restored in the product, not whatever the fuck we're having now.
At the same time, yikes. There was also a segment of gamers who believed that it was a get woke, go broke scenario simply because the game contained pronouns for characters. Sorry, I mean...
Fucking pronouns!
Yes. Again, and I'm probably going to get people mad by saying this. I mean, it's not like I care if pronouns are in the game, but this is a thing forced upon developers that people know if they see, they will assume current day bullshit. Like, why in a space game like Starfield, where it's 400 years in the future, why the fuck do we care for pronouns? Like, we're in this effectively a completely different world. It's like the 1980s versus now. Like, it's a completely different, like, system of humanity. But no, we have to have the pronouns. It's like, things like that, like, because people want to vibe with the product. Like, people fail to understand why you consume art to begin with, because ideology is placed before the product. But people want to vibe and jive with, like, they want to be sold the lie that video games will sell you. But when you see things like pronouns or body type A and B, like, when I see this, I'm like, oh god. These are ulterior things. They're like in Velgar, gender identity. In my dark fantasy game, I'm like, oh god, fucking damn it. It's like the same reaction you get when your dog pisses on the fucking floor. It's like, I'm not happy or mad. I'm like, oh god damn it, why? And yes, it is the culture we're in. Like, people want to pretend that the last 4 years didn't happen when coming at you. Like, there is a trend of companies going woke and their products failing and becoming failing companies. Like, this is what's happening with Ubisoft. Now, is the woke that direct reason? Fuck no. It's like, the ideology is tertiary, right? The fact of the matter is, the company's been going down for a while. it's just in this last ditch effort, it threw ideology in there, and it didn't work because now the culture is shifting. And I'd love to see what happens with Assassin's Creed Shadow, but I mean, probably by the time it releases, I'm gonna be playing like, you know, another set of gotcha games. So,
Being this angry over pronouns,
yeah,
like, calm down, man. Like, you are definitely gonna have a stroke if you carry on like this.
The bad stuff sells on YouTube. It's just how it is. Take a look at the most popular videos by Skill Up, one of my favorite video game review channels. When you filter it by its most popular videos, it's mostly games that either had overwhelmingly negative reception like Fallout 76 on release, or games that were mired in controversy like The Day Before. Ralph, the channel's owner, acknowledges this trend, and although he has many videos that celebrate games, he doesn't deny that the negative stuff is what gets more clicks. I'm not
yeah. I mean, again, people, for the most, like, if you just navigate the internet just to look for, you know, with a goal, yeah, you're gonna type in specifically the things you'll want to see or play it on the background. But I mean, some people like the negative. How do I say this? It's like sometimes it's just entertaining to watch the negative, like Angry Joe. His entire channel is built on him shitting on games, like, and I'm not saying that's either good or bad or as he should or shouldn't do it. It's just the way it is. I mean, and then a lot of people watch his videos of him shitting on games, and I mean, some people take it as if it's gospel, even though they probably never played the game. And there's times the good like the games he shot on I end up enjoying anyway. I mean, it's not a debate. My brother in Christ are video games. But yeah, people are going to find the content that jives with them, and sometimes watching Angry Joe get angry over shit is entertaining. And man, it gives me a hearty belly laugh.
not criticizing him for this, since people have the right to know whether something is bad. It's just YouTube. You've gotta play the algorithm game, baby.
Yeah.
It happens with my videos too. The subjects with a negative slant or some element of sensationalism do well, while the topics with a neutral or positive tone tend to fall by the wayside. Even if I personally really like making them and believe that they're genuinely interesting. I'm not judging you for it, since I get the appeal. I'm human, after all. But I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't disappointed about more people not giving them a chance.
Yeah, and again, like, this is a YouTube problem, more or less. I mean, again, PewDiePie, Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, like, they used to just get popular off of being scared and having overreactions to scary games. That's how they built their channel. Nowadays, you cannot naturally build on YouTube unless you're affiliated with like a company, or you have something that makes YouTube push you in the algorithm. I think that's the problem, right? Because they value corporate interests over the people that legitimately sold the platform.
I even have to change the phrasing of some of the titles of some videos just to give them that sensational appeal, and I really don't like doing that. I'd rather be honest. YouTube in particular has an ecosystem of media criticism that only focuses on the negatives of products, and some creators even go out of their way to manufacture flaws that don't truly harm a product as a whole. One of the most famous examples is CinemaSins, a channel that's so successful, even the auto-correcting Google Docs recognized that the name of the channel has no space in it.
God.
The channel started out innocently enough by spotting plot holes in movies, along with things like continuity errors. But as time went by and YouTube began to favor longer videos with consistent engagement, their videos started to become a petty, smug, and often mean-spirited breakdown of each movie's supposed flaws.
I've completely forgot CinemaSins existed. But yeah, another YouTube channel I used to watch. I mean, I watch Dart again. He does like gaming sins. But yeah, I mean, if it's what people want to watch and if it's funny and hilarious, like there's these YouTubers like Rags and Mauler and sometimes Lightning Flash, and they made a channel called EFAP where they effectively do the same thing but in streaming format. Um, I tried. I really did. Like even putting it on in the background grated to my ears because they will play 5 seconds of a movie and then speak an hour about the 5 seconds they've just, you know, they've just shown, and some of it is things I could even explain away, like the thing with the Mandalorian. It's like, oh, why are they hitting him in the helmet? Why don't they hit him or try to take him down in the you know and immobilize him or hit him in the least point of his armor? It's like, well, if you're in a fight and your hormones are raging and you're in it's effectively life or death, or probably not, but your body's treating like it, you're not going to really think about it. You're just gonna sort of gonna just move automatically, and it's like, yeah, after a while I couldn't even watch them. Now again, it's what the people want to see, so why the fuck? Again, it's a YouTube thing. You find a niche, you find a thing, and you stick with it. It's just how it is.
Pointing out either extremely minor errors or things that aren't even errors at all. The creators of the channel have claimed that their videos are all in good fun and not meant to be taken seriously, but whether that's their intent or not doesn't matter because people do take it seriously. It's not uncommon to see commenters saying how they were going to watch a movie before they saw the video, but now they won't because of it, or people who actively seek the negatives in things, looking for some form of affirmation from a notable person who agrees with them. For all these commenters know, they might actually love a movie that CinemaSins tears down, but they'll never know because some guy on the internet who frequently complains that women actors aren't doing lap dances in a movie convinced them that it's not worth their time. Negativity, drama.
Or it could just be bots in the comments, but yeah. It's the internet, brother. Again, you were on the internet. If you're on the internet, as long as I think you are, you know these are the things.
Drama and anger are all forms of entertainment though, and many people may not even realize that they actively seek it out. Content that has a negative tone often has a sense of importance and truth to it. It's seen as something that's almost salacious, and that by knowing it, then you'll be part of a vital conversation, even if that conversation can ultimately just be people complaining about things that don't really matter.
A lot of people do this thing where if you complain about it, it's a joke, or if you try to be like, critique their opinions, oh, I'm just joking, man. But then you have the people that are just like, oh, I agree with this, and they're like, yes. It's like, I don't know. I don't like scummy, sleazy, just have some principles at least. Like, I get it's the internet, but just if you're just making knee-jerk critiques, just say that.
This isn't a recent thing now, and it exists outside of the internet as well. Fox News, the most watched channel on American cable television, is practically a 24-hour daily broadcast of everything wrong with the world and the people in it, even if much of it is completely made up or overblown. They know what they're doing and who their audience is though. It's people aged 60 and above who aren't exactly what you'd call worldly, who constantly reminisce on how things used to be better when they were younger, and that all the things done to progress society have ultimately been too drastic and frayed our moral fiber. And yeah,
I mean, let's try to keep this to entertainment, but like, yes, like every news, and it's odd you just point out Fox News because every single news uh, media outlet does this. I mean, this isn't a surprise. I mean, CNNBC makes news for, the blue haired fucking feminists that are like, yes, all men. I mean, I'm trying to not get, like, not really angry, but like be antagonistic, right? But if you're trying to spin this in the way that I think you are, that's going to be real difficult. Like, yes, I mean, people were fine with things that happened. Again, people always glorify the past, and to be fair, if we're taking the past for years, the past was just object, like with all its flaws and all its issues, the past were better because at least you could put food on the table of your family at the very least. Nowadays, that's becoming difficult for the middle class, and that's the type of demographic you should try to, appease. Because, again, they put food on your fucking table as a politician. They run America, run the infrastructure, build your roads every 7 years here in the states or the Midwest. I mean, for some reason I don't know why the Democrats have stopped appealing to these people. The Democrat used to be the party of the working man, but now it's the party of people with daddy issues, I suppose. I mean, there has to be a better explanation. But yeah, I mean, news media skewing things for into their political, blender. I mean, that's not news, man. That's like a no. That's another no duh situation.
Things did used to be better if you were white and straight, but they don't see
Making it difficult. I mean, obviously, yes. Like, you did have things like apartheid and segregation. Yes. Right? Again, you did have slavery. Name me a nation on the planet that didn't. Name me a first world nation on the planet that didn't have some sort of serfdom, indentured servitude, slavery. Like, I'd like to hear some level of colonization. Like, first world empires that existed on planet Earth. Name me one of this. Well, we need you should stick this to entertainment, but I'm starting to think where you're trying to take this.
it that way since outlets like Fox News tell them that their race and orientation now makes them a victim, and that any group attempting to gain equality wants to make straight whites a victim. As we all know, a lot of people tend to lose touch with the world around them as they get older. Not every
That's false. I mean, when you get older, you get wiser. Yeah, you might hold opinions and beliefs, and it'll be difficult for people to argue down some of them, maybe racist. Again, depending on your lived experience. But you get a hell of a lot more knowledgeable and a hell of a lot more wiser and understand people a hell of a lot more and understand what's happening a hell of a lot more when you get older. That's why, again, the Democrats, like their entire party mainly is just people with daddy issues, like children, for the most part. And they try to appeal to minorities because that's sort of their, like, mission, their goal. But again, the majority of Hispanics voted amongst males voted for Trump. Like, the people who puts food on the table of their families voted for Trump. So, and again, this is why I'm trying to say with the internet, like if you had slightly right wing opinions, or if you'd get banned, or if you try to counter someone on the left with left wing, like saying, "Oh, America's evil, racist, this and that, the other," and you're like, "Bro, why are you talking this retard bullshit?" You get banned by the moderators before even Elon Musk hit Twitter. You just get banned by the moderators that had political leanings, and it formed this opinion that the majority of people might actually think this way. It's like, no, it's just you were banned for expressing it. But how do people express these things? They express them in real life, with the people around them, the people you work with, the people you drink beer with, the people you grill with. Like, these are the people you explain these things to. It's kind of like your support group. Nowadays, I guess, you need to fund the mental illness industrial complex of America. But before that, you had your community. You had the people you went to church with. You had the people you work with. And now, again, a lot of people get their shit from online, and it just skews reality towards one thing. And when that thing ends up being incorrect, people spurred the fuck out. And this is probably why I can't remember who said this, but this other lefty Wokie left wing big tard, like he was like, oh, people are running away from my channel, and we do progressive content. It's like, yeah, I mean, one, the previous establishment just straight lied to the people. And okay, companies lying, whatever, but people don't like that. And two, they just ended up being wrong, incorrect, and monumentally so. And again, they tried the same old strategy of throwing labels on people. That just doesn't work anymore. Like, you need to come with arguments, or you shut the fuck up.
Everyone, but a lot of them, Americans especially. Travel is a great way to broaden your horizons and learn about different cultures, but a lot of Americans don't do that. Only 43% of Americans actually have passports, and more younger people on average want to or have traveled more than the elderly. Personally,
I mean, I've read this story about Muhammad Ali, right? Because, was it Muhammad Ali? I don't want to sound stupid. I think it was Muhammad Ali. Because he thought the same way, like, the Black Lives Matter people thought, until he went to Africa. And they don't talk about this on the media for clear reasons that you don't have to discuss. Like we already know. When he went back to America, he's like, thank God my ancestors jumped on that fucking boat. And he's 100% correct. Like, there's a lot of issues with, again, nations in Africa. Like, they have the richest nations for African standards, but they also had, like, African warlords, and they have the tribes and huts. They have, ideology, and they have effectively I don't want to say, but they have socialist policies, but they're very conservative socially. Like, it's very odd to explain some of the nations in Africa. But yeah, he looks at, again, people, he goes to cultures, and now he has a broader reference. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people, they have their community, they have the people they work with, they have the people they drink with, they have their families, and they don't see the need to travel unless you're, the type of individual, the globalist that just view countries as economic zones. right? But yeah, I have this opinion that meeting different people from different walks of life and traveling will immediately make you right wing. Like, but that's my opinion.
I don't think this is too surprising, though. The more education a person has, the more likely they are to want to travel, and more young people have college level education compared to the elderly. This is just me theorizing here, but I think attitudes towards the world also play a role here too. All the generations have had it ingrained in them since birth that America is the greatest country in the world, that its faults are far and few between, and everything that it does is better than other countries. Institutions and society at large tries to instill this belief in younger people in the present as well, but because of education and more readily available information, they've become accustomed to being more critical of their country. And because of our greater connectivity with other countries, it's easier to get an insight into how governments outside of America operate. It's made them realize how things like higher education loans and private healthcare are completely broken systems, all the while they're hearing excuses from America's defenders about how it has to be this way because it's what makes them the best.
I mean, again, most of the things I hear is like people understand there's flaws, but even you, with the ability to sit here and talk about these flaws, like that is a right, fundamental right that is not really had in even other first world nations, right? You can literally be paid to sit on your ass and make YouTube videos. Like, you're living in a pretty damn good system. Yeah, I'd say we are. We're living in the like we're living in probably the best time ever conceived in human history, even with all the flaws, with the inflation. You know, we're still living objective. Like we live better. Like the average person lives better than like medieval kings lived 500 years ago. Like, I mean, it's difficult to explain this to, again, people who have a university degree and they were effectively indoctrinated by their university professor that America is evil, is systemically racist, evil, bigoted. Like, it's difficult to explain to that individual that, okay, you know, you only have one frame of reference, and that's from your university professor. You haven't even actually attempted to go to other cultures and see how they live because, okay, maybe, guess what? Maybe your opinion might change. And other problems, absolutely. Like what you said with the healthcare system, absolutely. With education, absolutely. And with the healthcare system, the only way to win is to do everything in your power not to play until you get old and you're pissing on yourself. And hopefully the system hasn't fallen apart. But as far as education, again, you don't need a college education to be successful. Like, this is another idea that was heavily ingrained in the high school. That's just not a requirement. Like, you know, truck drivers, like, they are literally running America. Like, the sewage cleaners, people that ensure the shit doesn't back up into your house, right? They are no, it's a no, like, these are noble professions that people have to work, and people gladly work these professions, right? You know, the construction worker, like people gladly work these jobs, and again, it's a matter of values because you don't need to make the utmost amount of money to be successful, like bus drivers and teachers, right? If you have, you know, how do I say it? If you have your community and if you have these things, like you don't need to make the most money
People don't like having their truths challenged though, and it doesn't help when other people, news outlets, etc., try to uphold these truths, no matter how damaging they might be. Networks like Fox News, Republican politicians, and online mouthpieces affirm these ideas through the possibility of things getting even worse than they already are, that it's better to maintain the status quo, which is easier to invest in when you're someone that the status quo favors. There's been multiple occasions.
I'm sorry, were you alive in the past 4 years? Like, again, the status quo was clearly skewed in a completely different way, a direction in the past 4 years than, again, the times even you're describing. Like, it's funny how you're only bringing up one news anchor and one political party when they all do this. Like, I don't know what angle you're trying to come from. Oh, well, I do know you're a Wokie, woke. But anyway, it's like these are things people understand. Like, news media companies, corporations, like governments, like, these aren't moral entities. They clearly have constituents, and you as a human being needs to understand this and be like, okay, how do I get ahead, in the face of all these, like, what information do I need or can I glean from these? And yeah, Fox News is talking about there being issues, right? Because there are, and they're talking about, oh, it was better in the past, because it was. It's like, I don't know why this is so difficult to understand.
Where I delicately tried to explain to America's defenders how other countries, including my own, do things better, and how no country should see itself as perfect, and on more than one occasion they push back by saying it's just how we do things here, as though it justifies it. I also sometimes hear, well, if you don't like it, then why don't you go back home? Why don't you apply for a passport, bitch? This is their truth though, and it's an idea that's propped up by the possibility of things being better, but that idea is sold to people through anger and fear.
Now, again, Americans, I mean, like, we built an entire nation that only existed for what? The past 300 years through, like, European criminals, slaves, and savages. Yeah, I'd say that's the biggest demographic of people. If I'm to use the most derogatory terms out of the three types of people, like, we've built a nation that, in the past 3 years, that nowadays rivals that, even in the past 4 years, rivals that of superpowers of nations that existed for thousands of years. I mean, this doesn't. And yeah, there were flaws, there were issues, there were problems, but still, as an American, even the poorest individual in America is living objectively better than the poor in, say, Rwanda, or, well, like, Uganda, because Rwanda is actually a somewhat developed nation, right? Like, you're free from exploitation. People will advocate for you. There are systems in place to help you. I mean, these are things that first world nations can afford to have, that second, and even third world nations that especially cannot. And even, like, certain dictatorships that are major powers don't have. I mean,
it makes people think that if they don't stay angry, then they make themselves vulnerable, since they won't be properly prepared to react. All those people on January 6th, they were a result of this, including Jimmy Pesto. I guess Bob was right all along. He is an arsehole. That's the news.
And again, this goes back to basic tribalism. Like, if you take the sum of all the BLM riots in January 6th, depending on where you fall on the tribe, you'll think one is justified and the other is not. And January 6th was, again, the result of a group of people not having their grievances even addressed. Like you, a middle class family, everything's becoming more expensive. Your value of life and that of your family's going down, and you try to express this online, you get banned, or you have just people coming after you ideologically because you're a right winger, and God forbid you're a right winger. Like, yeah, these are the issues that has happened in the past 4 years, and now we have foresight to address it, right? But no one wants to address it in the right light. Like, people want to just insult other people's intelligence and tell them what they see with their own eyes, like, or is incorrect. And you get situations like January 6th, right? Or like Black Lives, or like the BLM riots. When people don't have their grievances addressed, they're either being shepherded one way or the other, or not shepherded at all, just left out of the fence. It's like you're going to have these situations.
For you though, a constant stream of everything bad that's happening everywhere at any given time. People like to say that they wish the news would show good things happening, but we're drawn to the negative like a moth to a flame. We want to be outraged as much as we don't like to admit it. It doesn't help that most of the news that we consume on TV, online, and elsewhere is funded by advertisers, so there's a financial incentive to keep you looking. News anchors can tell you about a war that's happening and try to sell you prescription drugs between the segments. Social media operates on a similar model. Platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube use algorithms designed to keep users engaged by steering them towards outrage-inducing content.
Yeah, I said this about the whole Jim Sterling thing about how there's violent video games and all that on Steam. It's like, yeah, if you're going to look that shit up, brother, they're just going, or sister, I guess now, they're going to keep pushing that algorithm, like that stuff to you. Like, that's how the algorithm works. Like, at most major outlets, major social media outlets have this. I mean, 9gag, Reddit, Blue Sky probably has this. I mean, yeah. And that's also what's going to happen. Again, if you consume content that's going to piss you off, the algorithm's just going to push more content that pisses you off, right? That's why, again, I follow, gotcha games profiles on my Twitter, or like anime profiles, because if it's going to push degenerate fucking porn bots on me, it's going to be the degenerate shit of my choosing, god damn it.
This often leads to a cycle where users continuously scroll for new posts, updates, and opinions while sharing their own thoughts. The validation they receive through likes and reposts encourages them to stay engaged, creating a dopamine-driven loop fueled by feedback from strangers. People enjoy it when others, even those that they've never met and never will, agree with them, especially when a well-known figure or influencer interacts with their posts. When something goes wrong, people want to be involved in the conversation, and that's because in a twisted way, it gives them a sense of community. They can feel affirmation from the invisible crowd that exists in online spaces. They can feel as though that what they're saying matters in important situations, and that their opinion is valuable, even though it ultimately doesn't change anything. And believe...
Yeah, but people still are going to have an opinion. And again, you have this thing where a bunch of Haiti migrants entered, what was it, Illinois? Or what was that place? Like a state. And again, the news media just kept their fucking mouth shut about it until that Oliver guy pointed it out. And up until then, you had no fucking idea it was happening. Like, they pick and choose what information to give you and what information not to give you. Like, this is how the news acts, right? And again, people are going to seek out, the things that affirm their beliefs and their opinions because maybe this person can articulate it better. Maybe this person has information about a thing that, either confirms or denies this thing or that thing. I mean, this is it's really just how people interact with YouTube. I mean, and again, that and entertainment. I mean, most people work for a living and aren't really online as much as you probably are. I mean, this isn't new. This isn't groundbreaking.
Believe me, I'm really not trying to be cynical here. It's just what it is. If something happens like a shooting and someone makes a post with an emotional appeal to stop them from happening again, which gets thousands of engagements, it feels meaningful to the people involved, but it doesn't change anything. That's just social media for you, though. It makes the things said that exist within a vacuum feel like they have an impact on the real world. So why?
But again, people still vote. I mean, it doesn't mean anything from an individual perspective, but if I know, like, who won the last presidential election, if enough people are shown the information, and are talked to, it really does mean something. I mean, there's a lot of people that they do this thing where if they sit in this position, it doesn't matter, nothing matters. It's like because they don't want to be proven wrong or they don't want their, they don't want to get high hopes. I mean, people like to choose that position, but yeah, I think voting really just it does matter. If enough people are pissed off, like yes, like we had the first Republican president to win the popular vote since the past 20 years. Like, this is a monumental event, but no one wants to talk about it.
Do we go out of our way to be angry at things? We spend our entire lives pursuing happiness, and we're told that it's the most important thing to have, yet all of us can't seem to resist the allure of anger and outrage. It's one of the many strange contradictions of the human condition, but it exists for a reason. As you can probably guess, anger is a product of human evolution. It's a response in our brain, specifically our amygdala, that triggers whenever something is seen as unjust or unfavorable compared to a preferred outcome. It's a
Yeah, but again, people aren't as one-dimensional as you think they are. I mean, they can be angry at some things, but find joy about other things, and throughout their day, they're kind of just sort of whatever, doing their job. And then they look online and they're like, oh, well, that pisses me off a little bit. So anyway, they go back to doing their job. They eat lunch like, this shit tastes good. I mean, again, people aren't one of these one-dimensional creatures. Like, I don't know what argument you're trying to make here. Like, people being angry makes people more angry. Like, what point are you trying to make?
survival mechanism that helps you react to your environment, and it's the same part of you that just made you open your Discord after hearing that ping.
Oh,
that was me.
I did. I was about to.
While they are separate emotions, anger and fear are closely related.
Oh, man, I was about to get fucking frustrated. I thought I'd turn all the notifications off, because I get notifications for like 90 different goddamn things. And, sometimes I keep my phone on vibrate. Oh, there's a notification. I was about to get furious.
and work in tandem with each other. They both help activate our fight or flight instinct and help us react to potential dangers. And as this happens, our body releases adrenaline to assist with aggression or escaping. Adrenaline provides a boost of energy so we can react to dangers and make you feel powerful, even in a situation where you essentially have no power, such as an online discussion. As
See, man, it's literally justifying why I thought the EFAP Mandalorian fight thing was just a dumb critique. But yeah,